More and more people are getting involved in ARs, and I feel there's an area of concern that needs to be addressed with the ARs. Now, when we buy a firearm, we expect all the parts on the firearm to have a purpose and also to be able to be used in a safe manner. But there is one part on the AR that should never be used. Now, you're going to want to stay tuned because I'm going to share with you a true story that happened to me years ago. I'm Reverend Bay, and welcome to my gun kingdom. So this is a Colt LE 6940, and it could actually have its own video, but I'm just using it for demonstration purposes only, just to show you the part that should never be used on these ARs, and that's called the forward assist here. And it looks like a plunger, and it's right here. And you know, if you have a cartridge that doesn't chamber and go into battery, what you want to do is you want to eject that cartridge out and examine it before doing anything to force it in there using this forward assist. So, but if you clean your gun on a regular basis and clean it, you know, after each shooting, it shouldn't be the reason of it not going in and properly going into the chamber. But the forward assist is something that you'll never want to use because you could damage your rifle, and you don't want to get a live round stuck in there that you can't get back out. So, and even if you look in the owner's manual, doesn't really have a lot to say about the forward assist. Now, near the beginning of the manual, it says if you have a cartridge that does not go into the chamber, it says not to try to force it into the chamber. Rather, eject it with the charging handle, pull it out, and examine it and make sure that it doesn't have any corrosion on it, or not even use it the rest of the time that you're shooting. But they say that it could cause more damage to force it in with the forward assist. In fact, the two reasons they say that a cartridge might not go in is it's either because your gun needs to be cleaned or the cartridge is damaged. Okay, but you don't want to force it in anymore. And there is one solution, but it's not in the owner's manual, and it's something that I don't recommend, but I can demonstrate something that you could try. If you want to do that, and let's remove this safety here. And first thing we want to do is we want to make sure our firearm is in the safe mode, which it is. Okay, and then we're going to pull this back and we're going to release it just real slowly here and see if we can get it to stop right there. And it is. So what they're saying is, and like I said, it's not in the owner's manual, is to put light pressure on the bolt and see if it won't go in that way. So what they're saying is, see this concave part right in here on the bolt? Put your finger or your thumb in there and just push forward. Okay, now that closed it. All right, but the reason they're saying to do that instead of pushing on the forward assist is because you could put more pressure on the forward assist than you can with your finger or your thumb. Okay, but you know, that's one solution, but like I said, it's not in the owner's manual. So I really like to go by the owner's manual, so I would suggest doing what the owner's manual says, and that is to keep your fingers, thumb, your hands away from the bolt. So what I would do is I would eject the first take the mag out, eject that cartridge, examine it, see if it's damaged, and put the magazine back in there and try it again. If it hangs up again, won't go into battery, then that means your gun needs to be cleaned. Or when you cleaned it previously, you didn't put the parts back together correctly. So those are two things that you could check. But you know, you probably might ask yourself, well, why'd they put this on here in the first place? Well, I'll give you a short history about this. When they first designed these, and Eugene Stoner is actually the one that designed this rifle, and you know, he never really wanted the forward assist on there, and he said there was no reason to have it. And he said if a cartridge won't go into the chamber, then there's a problem with the cartridge, or the firearm needs to be cleaned. So you should eject the cartridge and examine it. So he didn't think it was necessary. He thought it was extra weight to have on the rifle, and it was going to cost more money to produce these rifles too with the forward assist. So extra parts, more money, of course. Well, they produced some of these rifles and they sent them to the Air Force without the forward assist. And I have right here a good example. This is a Colt SP1, and it does not have a forward assist right here. And this is the way Eugene Stoner wanted the rifle to be. Now this is a 1968, okay, and the Air Force loved these rifles. They thought there was nothing wrong with them, you know, without having the forward assist. They thought they were just great. And they ended up buying 19,000 of them. So, but the Army thought otherwise. And the reason why the Army thought otherwise was because all their previous firearms in the past had a way to close the bolt. They had a forward assist on there. So that's why, you know, when the Army put in their big order, it was going to be a lot of money. And they were going to buy more rifles than the Air Force. So that's why Colt went ahead and put the forward assist on there, you know, for their reasoning. So, but for civilians and things like, you know, we don't need the forward assist, and the Air Force didn't need the forward assist either. So, but, you know, I would definitely, you know, go according to what the owner's manual says for these. And I know we don't like to read owner's manuals. I don't like to either. But when we could get seriously injured or even you know, have a fatality from using these firearms, it's always a good idea to read the owner's manual. But I always read an owner's manual when I get a new gun, or I want to familiarize myself with an older gun. I'll grab it out of the gun cabinet and read it and make sure that I fully understand what's going on with each firearm. Now, when I was a young boy, I had asked my father if I could take his carbine and to my friend's house, and his dad were shooting, and they had a farm, and I thought I'd take the carbine over, and he bought this. He was in WW2, my dad, and he bought it pretty reasonably when the government had a surplus of these, and he bought it through the NRA. But it has a charging handle on it here, and it has an extension on it here that you can actually use to assist the cartridge into battery. But anyway, I took it over to my friend's house, and he and his dad were shooting, and we were shooting their firearms for a while, and his dad says, well, River, why don't you get out that carbine and let's shoot that thing. And we shot it probably 15, 20 times and never had an issue. And then one time we went to fire it again, and I pulled back on. We put another mag in and pulled back on the charging handle and let it go forward on its own tension, and it wouldn't go into battery. So he says, my friend's dad said, well, that's what that charging handle out there, that's what that's for, is just push on a little bit. So I had the gun in a safe direction, luckily, and I hit on it and it wouldn't go close. He said, oh, you got to do it harder than that. So I pushed it a little bit harder, and the gun went off. So we didn't shoot it the rest of the day. We took it back to the gunsmith, and he had some different parts, and and he put it back together. I never had a problem with it since. But you know, when these guns were shipped back in the 60s, when my dad ordered it, it was shipped to him without the firing pin. So when he got it, he had a gunsmith put in a firing pin. I don't know if that had anything to do with it, but that's called a slam fire, and that's what can happen, and something you don't want to happen. You know, when you're, you know, shooting these ARs, you don't want that to happen. But you always want to remember, you know, to stay safe and keep that muzzle pointed in a safe direction. But anyway, I don't recommend using these forward assists either. I go along with what Eugene Stoner wanted, and also what the owner's manual says too. But you might think to yourself, well, why are they leaving these things on here? Well, it's because the manufacturing plant's set up that way, and it costs too much money to change everything over. So they're going to come with a forward assist, and the best thing to do is just think of it as an ornament and not use it. But the first thing you do when you put your mag in is, when you pull back on the charging handle, don't ride it forward. Just release it, you know, from all the way back. Or what I like to do is I like to take this, there's a button back here, and it'll hold your bolt open. But what you can do is just push on that, let it come forward on its own, and that's enough tension to send that cartridge in there. But that's the way that I would do it. That way there's little chance of doing that and not getting the bolt to go in, or the cartridge to go into battery. But now I've read where some hunters, they like to pull the charging handle back, and not to make a lot of noise, they like to they ride it forward, and then the bolt, like I showed you earlier, it doesn't go all the way closed, but still you're going to hear a little bit of a snapping noise. But I guess that's not as loud as the letting the charging handle come from all the way back and putting the cartridge into the chamber. But if I've helped you out with this video, make sure you hit that like button and hit the subscribe button, because there's always more future content coming up, and share this with other people too. And make sure you leave a comment down below and let me know what your thoughts are on the forward assist, and if you ever had a problem with using the forward assist. But I appreciate you watching. Thank you.